Hello everyone, my name is Lamarana. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time on my channel, please subscribe. Click on that notification bell. Don't forget to like the video and also share. In today's episode, I want to talk about the Mandinka ethnic group as part of my series that I started, Get to Know the Gambia. And in this episode, you will learn to know one of the biggest ethnic groups in the Gambia, and also we will learn a lot about their culture and then their way of life. Who are the Mandinkas in reality in the Gambia? Who are the Mandinkas is a very loaded question, and I will try my best to explain this thing to you. That way you understand who the Mandinkas are. Fortunately enough for me, I am very fluent in the Mandinka language, and if you should move to the Gambia, this is one of the biggest ethnic groups we have in the Gambia. Some are saying they form about 39 to 42% of the entire population of the Gambia. So therefore, learning their culture, knowing their culture would help you a great deal if you move to the Gambia, not only in the Gambia, but also around the sub-region there. Where did the Mandinkas come from? The Mandinkas came from the Mali Empire. This was a great empire between the period of the 13th century to the 16th century. And this Mali Empire was founded by Sunjata Keita. During the heyday of the empire, it stretched far and wide in West Africa. And for this reason, if you go to certain countries today, you will find the presence of the Mandinka speaking people. Mandinkas are found in the Gambia. They are found in Senegal, mostly on the southern part in Casamas. They are in Guinea-Bissau. You will find Mandinkas in Guinea-Conakry. They are in Mali. You will find them in Sierra Leone. You will find a small portion in Liberia and even that of Ivory Coast. So the Mandinkas are evenly spread across most of West Africa, and some would even argue in Burkina Faso. So what is it that the Mandinkas do? The Mandinkas are predominantly a farming community, and they also do fishing. So when you go to a typical Mandinka village in the Gambia, you will find out that they are very hardworking people, and their economic activity is mostly centered around farming and fishing. And some of the things that they will farm, especially for the men, would be groundnut, millet, corn, but the women are mostly involved in rice farming in the furrows. Although this particular trade is now being practiced by other ethnic groups within the Gambia. But the Mandinkas also have a little difference depending on where you go. They are called the Mandingo in the Gambia. When you go to Mali, they are called the Malinke or the Bambara. And when you go to places like Sierra Leone, they are called the Mande. So all these different variations would qualify to be called the Mandingo speaking people or the Mandinka speaking people. The social structure of the Mandinka people is a caste system. Basically, that is a class system. You have the nobility at the top. You have the commoners who are the middle class. And you also have those at the lower level who are considered slaves. So within the nobility, these are the ruling class. For instance, the king and his family, they are the ruling elites. You'll find out that in those days, let's say in the Mali Empire, the king and his council would be considered the noble class or the nobility. But the commoners, which is the middle class, comprises a large number of people. Within this middle class, you'll find the Jula, who are the traders. They hold a very important position in the Mandinka tradition. We have the marabouts. These are the scholars, very vast in the Arabic language or in the Islamic religion. So they are called the marabouts. We also have the artisan class, which consists of blacksmiths or people who work with animal skin. We also have the farmers who work the land. So usually the people who own the land, they work the land, but they have help. And this is where the slaves come in. The slaves are divided into two categories. You have those who work in the house and also those who work on the farm. And I think it's going to be very important for me to make a clarification here. I am totally against the entire notion of slavery, whatever. But I just want to explain what it means to be a slave in the Mandinka traditional society. It's completely different from the present day notion of slavery, because slaves in those days were treated very well. They were looked after. They live in the same place like the nobility class. So therefore, those people, even in those days, accepted their status as being slave. They did not see it as anything negative, because if you are not born into a freehold family, you are considered to be a slave. And most of these traditions are now fading away because of Western culture, and then for the fact that most of the people are now, going to school and they don't believe in this class system. But I just highlight that for us to at least understand the history of this particular ethnic group. We also have within the middle class the griots. The griots are the praise singers, and these people hold a very, very important position in the Mandinka society. They are considered the primary custodians of the history of the people. They memorize the history. If you want to know the local history of the Mandinka people, you have to deal with the griots. Not only that, but also they sing praises for the king and the nobility class, and they also inspire the soldiers who are engaged in different wars. They give them motivation, they give them inspiration so that they can go to the battlefield and then fight a very good fight. Now let's look at the cultural life of the Mandinka people. How do they live in the Gambia and within the sub-region also? Usually the Mandinkas live in a close-knit community. They live together. You will find generations of people living in the same compound, because they believe that the family structure is one of the most important things. You can find a great grandparent living with great grandchildren in the same home. And within the Mandinka community or within the Mandinka society, there are certain instruments that are widely used by the Mandinkas, especially the musical instruments. One of these is the kora. This is a 21-string musical instrument, very popular within West Africa, notably in the Gambia. Some believe that the kora first started in the Gambia. We also have the bala, usually called the balafon. We have the konting. This is a one-string musical instrument that resembles that of a kora, but it's just, one string. And you will also find out that the Mandinkas like to eat what we call durango. Today, we might call it peanut butter stew. That is a typical Mandinka diet in the Gambia. With rice, that rice alone is called nyankatang. So anything that is prepared on its own without a sauce in the Mandinka local language would be called nyankatang or banyingo. So these are some of the foods that the Mandinkas eat. They usually like to eat grains like millet, sorghum, amaret, but all of these things have their local name in the Mandinka culture. We can also look at land ownership in the Gambia. Land ownership for the Mandinkas in the Gambia. Land ownership for the Mandinkas in the Gambia is communal, meaning in a typical Mandinka setting in the Gambia, land is not owned by an individual. Land is owned at a family level or at a clan level. When we talk about the family, we can say, for instance, the Dabos. Somebody can say this land belongs to the Dabo Kunda. So that means a particular family by the name the Dabos in a particular village would own a particular piece of land in that village, and they are the only people who will have the rights to use that land. But also it can belong to an entire kabilo. A kabilo here would mean a clan, meaning having different families coming together, living together, and then owning a huge chunk of land in a village. So, and up till today, we have this tradition in the Gambia. When you go to the provinces in the Gambia, you will find out that people still own land communally. There is no individual ownership of land. And no one individual person can make a decision as to how that land is going to be used. It has to be a collective decision of everyone in that family. But also, ownership of land and how it is used it mostly depends on the men in the home. So the paternal side of the family have a lot of say as to how these lands are used. When you also look at the governance structure of the Mandinka society, it is very paternal in the sense that women are not giving leadership position. That doesn't mean they are not considered or they are not consulted, in as to how the Mandinka society is run. But usually, it is the men who would be the head of the house, the head of the village, the head of, even a district, and even the head of an entire region. So I will give you a rundown of the structure itself. The Mansa, which is considered the king, is seen as the head of either an entire region or even a country. From the Mansa, we have the Sefo. The Sefo is the chief. It could be the chief of a village, mostly not even just a village, but usually it will be the chief of a host of villages, satellite villages coming together, choosing one person as the chief who will be looking after those entire villages. At the village level, we have what we call the Alcalo or the Alkali. The Alkali is the head of the village, and usually this is chosen from the founding family of the village, and they will choose the male to head the village. And at the family level, usually it is the husband, it is the father. So this is how the Mandinka society is set up in a nutshell in the Gambia. And the same thing would apply when you go to Casamance, you go to Guinea-Bissau, you go to Guinea-Conakry, wherever the Mandinkas are. Some of these features are not just unique to the Mandinkas alone in the Gambia, but this is how the Mandinka people live. This is their way of life in a nutshell. Thank you. Until I come your way again, peace out.